continuing with the industry. So it's the second part 2 of industry. We'll have one more part 3 of industry. That both will be released today itself. Now regarding the part 2, the survey starts have a separate topic what is called as corporate sector performance. So corporate sector performance means the private sector, how the private sector have performed in 2016-17 as well as the first 2 quarters of 17-18. Okay. Now regarding to measure the corporate performance, 2 indicators the survey have highlighted. One is the sales, how much is the growth in sales, especially from the private sector or corporate sector, and second is what is the net profit. So by looking into these 2 factors, we can conclude what is the position or how the corporate sector have performed in 16-17 as well as in the first 2 quarters of 17-18. So survey says that okay, in the first 2 quarters of 17-18, in the first 2 quarters of 17-18, it has taken around 1700 non-government, non-financial. So it is not government, it's not a corporate which is financial, which is not financial also. It's basically private sector companies, okay, which are listed. So listed manufacturing private companies. So their growth in sales in the first 2 quarters have risen, like there is an increase in the growth in sales in the first 2 quarters of 2017-18, mainly by the manufacturing, private manufacturing companies. Okay, and what survey says that this increase in sales have happened mainly because of certain industries like iron and steel, motor vehicles and other transport equipment sector. So these are the industries which have improved its sale. But at the same time, when the growth in sales was improved, the profits growth, the growth rate in profits have been negative in the first 2 quarters of 2017-18. And you know that in the financial year 17-18, from 1st July onwards, that is April, May, from the 2nd quarter onwards, GST have been implemented. So because of the implementation of GST, the industry had many problems in shifting to the GST regime. So what they have done is they have postponed production. There have been postponement of production by industry during the first 2 quarters of financial year 17-18 financial year due to the implementation of GST. Because of that, there have been negative growth in profits. This is what survey says. Just have an idea. Now another very important indicator which measures the industrial performance is what is called as capacity utilization. So the capacity utilization in the first quarter of 2017-18 have declined to 71.2% compared to the 4th quarter of 16-17. Just have an idea, in the first quarter of 17-18 there have been decline in capacity utilization. This has been a trend in 16-17 also. Now what is this capacity utilization? Survey has explained what is capacity utilization and its significance for manufacturing industry. So capacity utilization means it's the term it said, okay, it measures to what extent the manufacturing company uses its installed capacity. So every manufacturing industry will be having a capacity to production capacity will be there. So out of its installed capacity, how much it utilizes, that is what is called as capacity utilization, and it have been lower in the first quarter of 17-18. And so why there is lower capacity utilization? Survey says it's mainly because of demand conditions. The demand conditions was lower, as well as the inventory was also because of GST regime. The stock or the inventory have not been increased by many manufacturing private companies. So that's the reason for lower capacity utilization. So obviously, if there is lower capacity utilization, obviously there will be slowdown in the industrial activity as well as industrial investment. There will be slowdown in industrial activity as well as in industrial investment. That has happened in the first quarter of 17-18. So this industrial slowdown is also reflected. So the industry, we already know that okay, there is an industrial slowdown because there is lower capacity utilization, and you can identify this industrial slowdown with another very important measure, that is bank credit to corporate sector, mainly to manufacturing industries. The bank credit to manufacturing sector or to private companies have been lesser or have been very even negative in 2016-17. Okay, if you look into the nominal credit growth, the credit growth to industry. Okay, so nominal credit growth to industry turned positive only in November 2017. So from October 2016 onwards, till November 2017, there have been negative credit growth from by bank towards the industry. So that have reversed only in November 2017. Okay, so there is lower credit growth to industry. Now this, why there is lower credit growth or lower credit supply to industry, we already know that it's because of high non-performing assets mainly by the public sector banks. So it says that lower credit supply can be attributed to the impaired balance sheet of public sector banks, mainly due to higher NPA or non-performing assets. And so it's not only to see this lower credit supply is not only due to bank side where the bank is having higher NPA. It is also due to the lower demand from the industry also. The industry have not demanded that much credit from the bank. So both reasons are there for lower credit supply. So in order to address this public sector bank problem, in November 2017, a very important topic, okay, you can expect a question. So this is not related with industry, but it is mentioned in the economic survey. The government have announced bank, especially public sector bank recapitalization with an amount of 2.1 lakh crore in the coming 2 years. That's in 2017-18 as well as in 18-19. So because of through this bank recapitalization, the government aims to ease the balance sheet of it want to clean the balance sheet of the public sector bank, and thereby by cleaning the balance sheet bank, the banks, mainly the public sector banks, can increase their credit offtake, or they can increase credit to industry as well as other sectors. So this banking recapitalization is very important, not only from the banking sector but also for the industry and other sectors which is dependent on public sector bank, okay, and also to boost the economy. So banking recapitalization or as well as this recapitalization bond is very important. We will be covering in the money and banking bits economy, but those who have not focused on this area, make sure that you prepare well on banking recapitalization. And also regarding this demand for fund, okay, this is another very, this figure tell you a very important scenario of how the private sector have financed its funding other than banking credit, okay. So the demand for fund by Indian firms in the wake of credit slowdown. So there is a credit slowdown is there. We had seen that, okay. There have been almost 1 year, throughout continuously 1 year, there have been negative credit growth rate, okay. So this credit slowdown, the private sector have somewhere managed, this fund have somewhere they have managed by alternative sources such as corporate bond and commercial paper. Since the economic survey have mentioned, we already know the concept of corporate bond, okay. Since the economic survey have mentioned about the commercial paper, because commercial paper and corporate bond have been the alternative sources of fund for the private sector, so there is a possibility that UPSC can ask a conceptual related question on what is a commercial paper, okay, or they can ask a question, the difference between commercial paper or certificate of deposit, okay. It's a concept, okay. They are money market instrument as corporate bond. Now if you look into the figure, from the figure you can understand that out of the non-food credit means the credit to the industry, okay, out of the total credit if you look into the 15-16, okay, and 16-17, there have been the growth in 15-16 was higher, but in 16-17 it was negative growth rate. Bank credit was negative growth rate, okay. So it was 7024 billion, it's in billion, okay, rupee billion, not dollar, it's in rupees, billion. So 1 billion is 100 crore. So 7024 billion rupees was in 2015 bank credit, but it drastically reduced nearly to 44%. 44 negative growth is there, and it has come down to 3,882 rupee billion. And if you look into the alternative source, okay, so the two major alternative sources, okay, there are external commercial borrowing is there, but external commercial borrowing have become negative in 16-17. But if you look into the corporate bond and commercial paper, there have been a sudden jump in the corporate bond from 1,513 to 2,159, 517 to 1,002. So there is a tremendous or a big hike in 16-17 from the alternative sources of fund for the corporate, mainly through corporate bond as well as through commercial paper. So this you need to note down. Even though there have been credit slowdown, but the private sector have managed a great amount through alternative sources, mainly through corporate bonds and commercial paper. And if you look into the external commercial borrowing have turned negative. So it was not inflow, it was rather outflow of external commercial borrowing. So you look into these two factors, corporate bond and commercial paper. And regarding the alternative sources, the growth rate in 16-17 is, so when the credit supply, bank credit was negative growth rate, the alternative sources growth rate have been very high, that is near to 61%. Okay. So there have been some data about 17-18 quarter, April to December quarter, that's not important for you. So that's regarding the corporate performance, okay, corporate performance regarding their growth of sale, regarding their profit, regarding their credit management, etc. Now, the 16-17 survey have given some few important points about central public sector enterprises, means the public enterprises owned by the central government, okay. Now, what the survey says that, okay, this central public sector enterprises or CPSE play a significant role in Indian economy. And just have an idea, in 2015-16, that's the data from the 2015-16 data says that around 165 central public sector enterprises is a profit making company. Means there are 165 profit making CPSE which made a profit of 1.4 trillion. At the same time, we have a big number of, that is 78 sick or loss making central public sector enterprises which had a total combined loss of 287.5 billion. So we have a problem. So certain, even though they play a significant role, we have 165 profit making CPSE, we have at the same time 78 sick PSE also, which is a problem for the public exchequer, that is the central government. So because of this such a high loss, high magnitude, it is coming around 287.5 billion. It has led to wastage of our fiscal resources. So it is not only a wastage of fiscal resources for the central government because it's taxpayers' money, it also results in crowding out of private investment. Okay, so when the central government raises fund to run the sick public sector enterprises, actually what happens is that the private sector is losing out. The private sector's power to raise fund is being taken over by the public sector or by the central government. That is what is called as crowding out. Okay, so the private sector is not having sufficient fund, or they have to borrow at a higher cost. So the loss of the central public sector enterprises is also affecting the private sector because they are not getting sufficient fund at a affordable cost. So that is what is called as crowding out of private investment. So in order to address this sick PSUs, that is 78 sick PSUs, in 2016, in September 2016, Department of Public Enterprises, which manages or which administers these central public sector enterprises, have come out with a guideline, what is called as a time-bound closure. So Department of Public Enterprises have come up with a guideline which says that there will be a time-bound closure of sick or loss-making central public enterprises, and there will be disposal of movable and immovable assets of these central public sector enterprises. Okay. Based on this guideline, certain central public sector and sector enterprises have been taken for closure. They are Hindustan Cables, Tractor Unit of HMT, Kota Unit, Indian Drugs, Rajasthan Drugs and Pharmaceuticals, National Jute Manufacturing Corporation Limited, and Bird Jute Export Limited has been initiated. It's not that important for you. They are not going to ask you this question, but just have an idea. We have approximately 243 central public sector enterprises, and nearly 1/3 of these central public sector enterprises is a loss making. Okay, we have to address that problem. That's a big thing. Okay, the government cannot play with the taxpayers' money. Okay, so that's why the government have started or this department have started this initiative to sell off these loss making central public sector enterprises. So that's regarding this much only economic survey have covered regarding central public sector enterprises. Now see the survey have come up with a broader heading, what is called as sector wise issues and initiatives. So the different industrial sectors, important industrial sectors, their issues, and what all government initiatives have been taken to address those issues have been discussed in the later part of the industry chapter. So the first sector the survey have taken is micro, small and medium enterprise sector. I am telling you again, you can or you surely expect a question on micro, small and medium enterprises this year. Already I have explained in your a public video is there on BITS Economy regarding the definition of micro, small and medium enterprises. So be very clear with the present definition of micro, small and medium enterprises and what changes the government have made in the definition of micro, small and medium enterprises. Very important. There are other areas also which we will be discussing in the economic survey. Okay. So regarding the importance of this micro, small and medium enterprises, okay, what the survey says that it plays a very important role. This MSME sector plays a very important role in creating large scale employment. That is another one advantage. It creates large scale employment. It results in industrialization of rural area. So since this majority of the micro, small and medium enterprises is there in the rural area, it results in industrialization of rural area, as well as it reduces regional imbalances because it brings rural development. And it's another very important fact. MSME sector constitute 33% of the industrial gross value added. So in the total industry, the MSME sector's contribution to gross value added is exactly 1/3, that is 33%, and 31% of industrial GDP. So be very clear the relationship between gross value added and GDP. If you are taking industrial gross value added, it is 33%. If you are taking industrial GDP at constant prices, it is 31%. Fact, very important fact. Then the survey says that as per the 73rd National Sample Survey for the period 2015-16, it says that there are around 633.8 lakh unincorporated non-agricultural MSMEs in India. There are 633.8 lakh non-agricultural MSMEs in India, and they provide employment to around 11.1 crore workers. Okay, so you can understand the importance, how much this MSME sector create employment. Okay, so after the agriculture, the second largest employment is provided by the MSME sector. 11 crore. Nearly 11 crore employment opportunities is provided by the MSME sector. So the promotion as well as the development of MSME sector become so crucial for the development, especially the inclusive development of our economy. But this MSME sector is facing major problems, especially in getting adequate and timely credit. So to address this adequate credit, especially for expanding their business activity, the government have set a target. Okay, so I have initiated many schemes. We'll discuss that. Especially the government as well as RBI. See, MSME sector is coming under the priority sector lending. So priority sector lending concept is very important, okay. So if you look into the data, so before going to this, what are the initiative taken by the government to address this MSME credit problem, we will first see that the credit given by banks to both the large scale industry as well as the MSME sector. So if you look into the total credit given by the banking sector, it is coming around, the data is till November 2017, it is coming around 26,041 billion is the total credit given by the bank to the industrial sector. And if you note down, very important point, that out of this 82%, means 82.6% of this loan is given to large enterprises. So it means that only 17.4% or approximately 17.5% of the loan only is going to the MSME sector, even though they constitute 33% of the industrial gross value added. So that is very low. So in comparison to the large enterprises. And if you look into the non-performing assets, large enterprises is contributing a higher NPA compared to the MSME sector. So the bank need to change their strategy in giving loan to the vulnerable micro, small and medium enterprise. Even though they are vulnerable, they are comparatively much more credit worthy. They play credit better than the large enterprises. So it says that MSME receive only 17.4% of the total credit outstanding. So this decline in credit to MSME sector, you can say it is because of the higher NPA problem faced by the public sector bank. So if you look into if you go by the three categories, that is micro, small and medium enterprises, the growth of credit to small and micro and small enterprises increased by 4.6% during from November 16 to November 17 data, but medium enterprises, the credit have decreased. Now if you look into this table, that is the credit outstanding to industry, you can see that the total credit to the industry, the total, that is large scale and small scale, is coming around 26,000 billion Indian rupee, and for total industry the credit growth is, if you look from November 16 to November 17, I told you this, in November 17 it became positive, credit growth became positive, that is 1%. Now if you look into micro and small, there is an increase of credit growth rate of 4.6, but medium enterprise negative growth rate, large scale there is a small increase is there. But if you look into the total outstanding, so you can see the difference. Large scale industry have taken the maximum loan, that is 21,500. Only micro and small 3,500, and medium enterprises have taken a loan of 947 billion Indian rupee as loan from the bank. So that you keep in mind, okay, how much credit the micro, small and medium enterprises. Just have an approximate idea, okay. You don't need to have no need to know about the exact data. Now this is very, very important, okay. So what are the major schemes taken by the government to address this the credit related problem faced by the MSME sector? Okay, one is the government have introduced a program what is called as Prime Minister Employment Generation Program. It is basically aimed at employment generation, mainly self-employment through establishment of micro enterprises. So micro enterprise is very important in the non-farm sector by helping unemployed youth as well as traditional artisans. So just have an idea, okay. UPSC can ask you like this, okay, what are the initiatives taken by the government to address the problem or to develop MSME sector? So one is Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, that's one point. Second is there is a credit guarantee scheme for micro and small, not for medium enterprises. This scheme is for micro and small enterprises, credit guarantee schemes for micro and small enterprises, which is a collateral free credit facility. No collateral is required to get this credit guarantee scheme, and it has been extended by eligible lending institution, not only banks but also NBFC. And for the micro and small enterprises, they can borrow per unit per micro or small enterprises, they can borrow through this credit guarantee scheme up to 200 lakh or 2 crore per enterprises per unit. Then there is a credit linked capital subsidy scheme, credit linked capital subsidy scheme, especially to introduce better technology that is aimed at facilitating technological upgradation in the MSME sector. That is, so credit linked capital subsidy scheme is to improve technological or to bring technology or to upgrade technology in the MSME sector. And this is very, very, very important. Okay, and the RBI have made some changes in the priority sector lending norm, and one of that important change is that there is a sub target of, so we know that earlier micro and small enterprises was included under priority sector lending, but recently, that is means 2 years back or 2.5 years back, okay, the RBI have brought medium enterprises also under the priority sector lending. So now micro, small and medium enterprises is part of this priority sector lending, but RBI have set a clear norm that there is a sub target. Every bank should give loan a 7 out of the total loan. Out of the total loan, 7.5% should be given to micro enterprises, like 18% to agriculture. 7.5% loan out of the total loan should be given to micro enterprises. This is a very important. There is a sub target of 7.5% to micro enterprises. Adjusted net bank credit is nothing but just for simple term you make it a total loan or total credit. Okay, so this 7.5% to micro enterprises, which the RBI have changed in the priority sector lending norm, is very important. Since the survey have mentioned, it have become very, very important. Okay, so already we have covered it regarding. So please revise our priority sector lending session. Okay, so because it's very important for your coming prelims. You can expect a question from priority sector lending under money and banking, especially the revised norms. Now, very important scheme already regarding this Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana. UPSC have asked a question in 2016 prelims. So they asked what is the basic aim of this Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana. Okay, so it's nothing but basically aimed at Mudra, especially to promote this micro enterprises by setting up a bank, exclusive bank for micro enterprises, what is called as Mudra Bank, and to address the problem of credit, that is financing, as well as the development of this micro industrial units. Okay, so Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana address the problem of development and refinancing activities related to micro industrial unit. Okay, so this Mudra, that is micro units development and refinance agency, will provide funding to non-corporate small business sector. So the government have already set up this Mudra Bank. Mudra Bank is very important. So what this says that please revise again this Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana or Mudra Bank. Again we have covered it. So priority sector lending, very important for your prelims. Please revise it. Mudra Bank and Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana, very important. Please revise it. Okay. So under this data you update to that Mudra Bank material. Okay. So this Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana, the 2016-17 target to give loans have achieved. That is the target was 1.8 lakh crore that have been achieved, and out of this you can say that the 1.23 lakh crore loan is given by bank, and the remaining amount have been given by non-banking institutions, mainly NBFCs. And very interesting fact is that till December 2017, the total number of borrowers under the Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana is 10 crore. And very interesting fact is that in that 3/4, out of the 10 crore borrowers, 7.6 crore borrowers are women. Very, very important. There lies the significance of this scheme and the concept of Mudra Bank. It have been successful in 16-17 and it's performing well. It's one of the successful initiatives of the government, especially to deal with this problem of credit to micro and small enterprises. Okay, please be thorough with this scheme, Pradhana Mantri Mudra Yojana, as well as Mudra Bank. So that's regarding MSME sector. And another sector is steel sector, which is very important for the economy. So we will first see the issues associated with steel sector and the initiatives taken by the government. Already in our first part 1 of this video we discussed, okay, there are 8 core industries and steel sector is one of the core industries. Okay, it is one of the core industries of our economy. and India is the third largest producer of steel in the world. Okay, so that's a very fact but important for you. And the production of steel have increased in 2016-17 compared to 15-16. It is 101 million ton in 16-17. Earlier it was previous year it was 91 million ton. But there is there was some problem in around the globe in relation to the steel production, especially the largest consumer of steel, okay, that is China. Okay, China had, what happened is that there is, especially from 2014-15 onwards, there have been a slowing the world economy have slowed down, and there have been globally there have been over capacity in steel production. So two things happened together. Slowdown happened, there have been overproduction of steel happened. So this overproduction of steel outside the world have resulted in cheap imports of steel to India, especially in 2014-15, mainly from countries like China, South Korea and Ukraine. So from 2014 onwards, because of global slowdown as well as overcapacity in steel, resulted in cheap imports from China, South Korea and Ukraine. So this, mainly China have dumped cheaper steel imports to India, which have affected our domestic steel producers. So in order to address this problem, the government in February 2016 have taken a very important step, that is to raise customs duty, to impose anti-dumping duty, and also to impose minimum import price on a certain type of steel items. Okay, was introduced in February 2016 for 1 year. That is what is called a sunset clause of 1 year. So this will be there till February 2017, from February 2016 to January end. Okay, so for 1 year, these initiatives have been taken by the government to protect the domestic steel industry. That is by raising customs duty, imposing anti-dumping duty, and as well as introducing minimum import price for certain items. Then again after 1 year, so there have been increased production from the domestic producer, and exports also have recovered from February 2016 once the government have taken this initiative. So there were better performance till March, but in March things changed because that 1 year got over, that package of 1 year got over. So the government again in February 2017 have imposed certain other initiative, that is to government have notified anti-dumping duty and countervailing duty on various steel products in February 2017. So for you, these various steel products is not important, but what is important for you is the concept of anti-dumping duty and countervailing duty. UPSC can ask you the concept, what is anti-dumping duty, what is countervailing duty. So already we have solved a question on anti-dumping duty and countervailing duty. There I have discussed the concept of anti-dumping duty and countervailing duty. Please watch that video. So there is a high possibility that UPSC can ask this question. It was a current affair, plus it has been mentioned in your economic survey, 17-18 economic survey, latest economic survey. So it says that anti-dumping duties were introduced in certain steel items like seamless tubes, pipes and hollow profiles of iron, then especially from China. And government also imposed anti-dumping duties on HR coils, HR plates, CR products, wire rod and color coated steel. Not important for you. They will not ask you on which products anti-dumping duties were imposed. Okay, just have an idea, anti-dumping duties were imposed on certain steel products. And government also levied countervailing duties on certain products, especially from China, Korea, European Union, South Africa, Taiwan, Thailand, as well as USA. So you need to understand that why the government in February 2016 as well as in February 2017 have imposed anti-dumping duty as well as countervailing duty. The reason is to prevent this cheap import or dumping of steel products because of excess oversupply in the other major steel producing nations as well as global slowdown. Okay, so that point you note down regarding the steel industry. So what happened after these measures is, by the time June, China have cut its production. China have reduced the steel production. So after the China's cut back in steel production, from June 2017 onwards, there have been the increasing prices in steel from June 2017 or post June 2017 after the China's decision. So in order to benefit this rising steel prices, the government have introduced a new steel policy in May 2017, mainly to boost steel production. And a policy, especially a policy also have been taken by the government in May 2017 to prefer domestically manufactured selected certain iron and steel products, so that to promote as well as promote this domestic steel production. So after these measures, new steel policy as well as domestic preference to domestically manufactured steel products, after June, what happened is that there have been an increase in the there have been increase in the exports of steel from during the period from April to December 2017 by a greater increase. That is, our steel exports have increased by April to December 2017 increased by 52.9%, while imports only increased by 10.9%. So the steel industry have recovered and is now performing well because of the initiative taken by the government in February 2016 as well as in 2017. Now the next sector is another very important sector, that is clothing and textile sector. Now regarding this sector, textile sector, try to understand that this sector, textiles and apparel sector, has a tremendous potential, especially in exports and employment, especially women's employment. Okay, so because of exports and employment, it has an important role in the economic growth of our country. So it plays a very important role in the employment as well as exports. Okay, so traditionally China was the market player. The dominant market player was China in the textile sector. But now because of the rising labor cost in China, okay, so because of rising labor cost in China, China is now ceding its space from labor intensive sector. Okay, so labor intensive sector China is leaving. So other countries like India have now got an opportunity, because now China is losing market share mainly because of rising labor cost. So even though this opportunity of China ceding space or losing market share, India could not able to utilize this benefit mainly because of 4 problems faced by this textile sector. We have a new competitor, especially from Bangladesh, Vietnam and Ethiopia, because these countries which are major textile producing nations, okay, they have got duty-free access to US as well as European Union. Okay, so since Bangladesh, Vietnam and Ethiopia is having duty-free access to European Union as well as USA, India will face a big problem in getting this China's market share. So we need to address that issue. Also, India's tax policies, that is, Indian government impose high domestic taxes on man-made fabrics when it compared to cotton fabrics. So that is not good for the present textile sector, especially labor intensive textile sector. And we have a stringent labor law, so the government is addressing through labor reforms and high logistic cost. So that has also been addressed especially with the implementation of GST and other measures being taken. Okay, so these are the 4 problems faced by the textile sector. As well as to promote the textile sector, to increase employment as well as to increase exports, the government in June 2016 have came with a 6,000 crore special package to boost employment, exports as well as investment. So we will just have an idea what are those special package for the textile sector which was introduced in June 2016. Under this textile package, we call it as textile package, the government have increased the subsidy under amended technology upgradation fund scheme. So under this scheme, the subsidy amount have increased from earlier 15% to 25% for the garment sector. And a unique feature of this subsidy scheme is that this subsidy will only be transferred if the expected jobs are created by that particular textile unit. Okay, so if there is only jobs is being created, if new jobs are created or expected jobs are created, then only the subsidy will be transferred. So that's a good initiative which will help in employment, increase in employment. Okay. Now regarding the state levies imposed, okay, there will be rebate on state taxes. Okay, so those state levies which were not refunded through duty drawback. So for exports, for textile exports, so those state levies which were not refunded through duty drawback, that will be rebated under this package. That is what is called as rebate on state levy scheme. And the central government will bear this 12% of employer's contribution to the employees' provident fund. So earlier the employer have to see 12% will be contributed by the employee and 12% by the employer, but this employer contribution 12% will be provided by the government, that is the central government, in order to boost this textile sector. As well as per the ILO norm, okay, the government have increased the overtime caps. Okay, there have been an increase in the overtime work under the ILO norm, so that there can be more production, and the employees will also benefit because of increased overtime. And the government have introduced the concept of fixed term employment because of the seasonal characteristics of this industry. Okay, this concept, fixed term employment, okay, is very important. It's a current affair, a new concept, okay, which we have introduced in India. So UPSC can ask, okay, what is this fixed term employment? So please refer these concepts. Okay, survey I have not explained it, but just mentioned it, but it was there in news. Okay, so since we have lack of time, just what all things I am saying important, please revise it. Okay. Then in December, so after that special package in December 2017, another scheme was approved by the government, mainly to increase to improve the capacity building in textile sector. So two important initiatives is that, okay, this scheme to improve capacity in textile sector will be applicable from the year 2017-18 to 2019-20, that is, it's a 3-year scheme, and the government will give an outlay of 1,300 crore. And there will be national skill qualification framework, compliant training courses will be provided. The expenditure will be beared by the government with funding as per the common norms notified by the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Okay, so these are the initiatives. And if you look into the present data after this implementation of this June 2016 scheme, what has happened is this package, this textile package, have resulted is there have been positive impact on the exports of ready-made garments of man-made fibers. So there is a increase in exports in man-made fibers, ready-made garments of man-made fibers, while it did not have a statistically significant impact on the ready-made garment of another natural fibers. So man-made fibers exports have improved, but for natural fibers except wool, that this package have not made any big impact. Okay, this is how survey have analyzed about the textile sector. Our next sector is leather and footwear sector. Again, like textile, it is also highly labor intensive sector. Okay, leather and footwear is a highly employment intensive sector with lower capital. You require only lower capital but higher employment. So we need to focus on such sector, such industry which is low capital, higher labor intensive, especially for a country like India. So again here also, because of labor intensive, rising labor cost, China is ceding space to other market players. So India should use it, getting this market of footwear industry. Okay, but again this industry is also facing certain challenges. The two main challenges faced by the footwear or leather industry is that, see, the global demand for footwear is now moving towards non-leather sector. Okay, so earlier there were more demand for leather footwear, but now the global demand have moved from leather to non-leather footwear. But our Indian tax policies still promote, because the tax incentives is mainly given to leather footwear production. So that need to be addressed by the government. Okay, so the government need to promote non-leather footwear production also by giving special tax incentives for that sector also. So that is to be addressed. Okay. Second challenge is that India's export market is affected by high tariff imposed by India's partner countries to India's exports, mainly to both leather goods as well as to non-leather footwear. So India is facing a problem because Indian exports is imposed higher tariff by its partner countries, mainly for leather goods and non-leather footwear. Okay, so these two challenges has to be addressed by the government, then only the leather industry can improve its production as well as exports. Okay. The government also have come with a scheme for promotion of employment in this sector through an outlay of 2,600 crore for the 3 year, like in the case of textiles also. Now the scheme which was announced will have special focus on developing infrastructure for the leather sector. It will address the environmental related concern mainly because of this leather factory. Okay, and it will bring additional investment, create employment generation, as well as there will be increase in the leather means footwear production mainly from leather. Okay, there will be the government will provide better tax incentives, especially for large scale investment. The government will bring labor reforms, especially by again here also introducing this fixed term employment because of the seasonal nature of the sector. There will be a special package to generate 3.24 lakh new jobs in 3 years mainly, and out of it there will be formalized job will be given for 2 lakh people. The scheme also provide assistance to placement link skill development training mainly to unemployment persons. We require skilling of these unemployed youth. Okay, incentives for investment for new plant and machinery, modernization of existing plant, incentives will be given, support for upgradation of technology, especially for installing common effluent treatment plants. The government will give incentives for brand promotion, as well as the government will provide 12% employers contribution to EPF scheme. Okay, so these are the incentives for footwear sector. Now the last sector, that is gems and jewelry. Okay, now this sector have become important because of this Nirav Modi issue. Okay, so after the Nirav Modi issue, this sector have been largely hit because of the many stringent norms imposed by the RBI as well as the government. Okay, but before this Nirav Modi issue, so the survey have come before this Nirav Modi issue. So survey have not addressed this Nirav Modi issue in relation to gems and jewelry. Just have an idea, India is one of the largest exporter of gems and jewelry, and it play a greater role in contributing total foreign exchange reserves, and it is one of the fastest growing sector, and it is export oriented as well as labor intensive. So these are the advantages, and as per the survey, presently 28 lakh person is depending on this sector. The exports have improved from 2014. In 2014-15 it was 0.7%. It have been 12.8% in 16-17. And it just survey says that the import duty on goldsmith tool is 30% or 30.1%. Not that important since survey have covered it. I'm just showing it to you. I don't know, means we don't know in which manner UPSC will ask. So the important points regarding gems and jewelry has been given here. Now, in order to, by knowing the potential of this sector in relation to creating employment, increasing exports as well as for increasing foreign exchange reserve, the survey is suggesting some reforms in the gems and jewelry sector to be taken by the government, especially to improve employment. So one, it says that there should be a public-private partnership model, especially for training in jewelry designing. Okay, so if the youth, especially unemployed people, if they have been given training in jewelry designing, they not only will be getting employment, but their salary or their remuneration will be comparatively higher because it's skilled. It's a skilled training will be provided. There will be jewelry training institutes. The jewelry training institutes all will have to be affiliated to Gems and Jewelry Sector Skill Council. There should be setting up of infrastructure such as refineries, hallmarking centers to promote jewelry manufacturing in rural areas, thereby rural development can happen, and creation of multiple jewelry parks like our mega food parks, okay, for agricultural products. For promoting jewelry, there will be multiple jewelry parks which accommodate manufacturers, shared, so there will be services can be shared, banking, logistics support, testing, all can be provided in this multiple jewelry parks, so as to promote production in a more organized environment. So presently the sector is not organized, okay, even though it is very important for the economy. So these are the sectors and the initiatives mentioned in the economic survey. One more part is there regarding industry, okay, the major initiatives of the government, which will be covered in the part 3, okay. So that's regarding industry. Thank you.